Before the stars went wrong, Captain Nina Kad heard the singing. It wasn't a sound that traveled through the air, but a deep, resonant pressure inside her skull. It was a complex harmony that vibrated through her very bones, a song that felt ancient, melancholic, and undeniably alive. Her ship, the Voidbreaker, slowed as it ventured into the galactic scar known as the Null Halo. This was a region of space where star maps simply dissolved into static, and the most advanced navigation AIs fell silent, refusing to speak of what lay ahead. "Identify the source of the signal," Nina commanded, her voice steady despite the unease settling in the pit of her stomach. The answer didn't come from her crew or her ship's sensors. It came from the shadows. They materialized from folds in space, like living constellations taking form before her eyes. They were the Avari, a blue avian species spoken of only in dusty, extinct language archives. They were tall, majestic beings with crystalline feathers that shimmered like frozen lightning. Their eyes were voids of pure black, reflecting futures that never came to be. They didn't flap their wings to stay aloft. They simply hovered, suspended by a gravity they carried within themselves. The lead Avari spoke, its voice a haunting chorus of many. "You must leave," it said. "The devourer has begun to wake." A cold dread snaked through Nina's nerves. The name was unfamiliar, but the tone carried a weight that transcended language. "You're refugees?" she asked, her mind racing through protocols for first contact and asylum. "No," the Avari replied, its voice resonating with an ancient sorrow. "We are the witnesses." Just then, the ship's lights flickered violently. Outside the viewport, the distant stars twisted and warped, stretching into screaming faces pulled into impossible, agonizing angles. And then, as suddenly as it began, the singing stopped. It was replaced by something else. A presence. An awareness that was vast, cold, and utterly alien. The devourer didn't appear all at once. Its arrival was insidious, a slow unraveling of reality itself. First, crew members started forgetting things small at first, like names and simple commands. Then it got worse. One of Nina's best engineers screamed, staring at his own hands, because he could no longer remember what they were for. Another officer just stared blankly into space, whispering over and over, "It's editing me." The Avari folded their wings in a gesture of profound mourning. "It is called Karzun, the final editor," they explained. "It does not destroy bodies. It deletes meaning." Karzun finally arrived as a hole in causality, a gaping wound in the fabric of space. It was a vast distortion where stars bent inward, bleeding their color and light into an abyss of absolute nothingness. Within this void, shapes moved that defied geometry. Eyes formed where there should be none. Wings were constructed from broken timelines, and a mouth opened into other, final endings. When it spoke, its voice wasn't heard, but felt. It shattered every screen aboard the Voidbreaker. The words appeared, burning themselves onto the cracked displays. "Captain Nina Kad, you are a strong pattern. I will enjoy corrupting you." Across the ship, crew members collapsed as their minds were plundered. The very essence of who they were was stripped away. Childhood memories vanished like smoke. Love stories unraveled into nonsense. The ship itself began to forget how to exist. Bulkheads softened like wax, and corridors looped back into themselves, creating impossible labyrinths. The Avari let out a piercing scream, not of fear, but of excruciating pain. "It feeds on perception," they cried out. "When observed, it learns. When feared, it grows." Nina felt it inside her mind now, a monstrous intelligence rifling through her thoughts, searching for any weakness, any crack in her resolve. It forced visions upon her, a desolate, abandoned Earth. Her command, her entire career, erased from history. Her own name spoken as meaningless static. "You cannot fight it," the devourer's voice echoed in her mind. "I have ended gods." Nina's heart hammered in her chest, but her gaze was fixed, resolute. She turned to the Avari. "Then sing," she said, her voice cutting through the chaos. The blue avians stiffened, their shimmering forms radiating a deep primal terror. "Captain, the blue choir is forbidden," the leader said. "It is a song of extinction. It kills us." Nina met its gaze, her own eyes reflecting the dying stars. "Then let it kill me too," she replied. But not quietly. The Avari straightened, a silent agreement passing between them. They spread their magnificent crystalline wings. The song that followed was not beautiful. It was grief-given sound. It was the agony of a billion years of loss, a chorus of frequencies so old they predated language. The melody resonated through space-time itself, a funeral dirge for reality. The devourer, Karzun, recoiled. The song named it, not with words, but with an undeniable, absolute truth. For the first time in its ageless existence, the final editor faltered. "You should not remember me," it hissed, the thought voice laced with confusion. "I remember everything," Nina shot back. With a surge of adrenaline, she threw open the protective casing of the Voidbreaker's core. She began to synchronize its immense power with the Avari's song, minding her own consciousness to their terrible, final chorus. She felt it all. She experienced their extinction, their endless flight from the encroaching silence, their bone-deep terror of being forgotten. And then, armed with their collective memory and sorrow, she did something far worse than attack. She forced the devourer to witness itself. She turned its own nature, its own power, back upon it. The creature screamed, a sound that tore at the fabric of the universe. It was not a scream of pain, but of recognition. Its insatiable hunger turned inward. Its absolute certainty fractured. "Stop, I unmake others, not myself." Reality convulsed in a final, violent spasm. The Voidbreaker vanished, the Avari burned into pure, brilliant light, and the devourer, Karzun, collapsed into a closed loop of its own consumption, trapped for eternity, endlessly erasing itself from existence. Centuries have passed. Pilots now steer clear of the Null Halo. It's a dead zone on all maps. But some say that if you drift close enough and listen with more than just your ears, you can still hear faint singing, haunting blue echoes drifting through the silent dark. And sometimes, just sometimes, a ship's navigation system will flash a warning, a message never programmed by human hands. Remember Captain Nina. Remember the choir. Forgetting is how IT returns. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell to never miss an update. See you next time.